The blizzard didn't just blow through the mountain forest. It hunted everything that moved. Wind knifed between the pines, tearing snow off branches and hurling it sideways in bright, stinging sheets. In that white chaos, a lone figure fought her way uphill. She was pregnant, late enough that every step looked like it cost her something. Her gloved hand stayed pressed to her belly like an anchor, the other dragging a torn bag that kept snagging on buried roots. Each breath left her mouth in thick, frantic clouds before the wind ripped it apart. Like this video and subscribe to this channel so more people who feel alone can find it. Ahead, half buried in drifts, sat a woodpile. Old, forgotten, stacked in a crooked mound beside the slope. It looked useless, like leftover winter fuel no one came back for. But she didn't walk past it. She pushed for it like it was a destination. The gusts hit harder. Her boots slid. She stumbled into the lee of the logs. Then her knees buckled. She dropped behind the woodpile, where the wind suddenly lost its teeth. And for a moment the forest went strangely quiet, except for the hiss of snow. That's when the second presence became real. Far back between the trees, barely more than a shadow, a lone man stood still, silent, cautious, not approaching, not leaving, just watching, his shape cutting into the storm like a question that didn't want an answer. She didn't call out. She didn't look for help. She moved. Her gloved hands swept snow from the stacked logs, brushing until dark bark appeared, wet and rough beneath the white. Under the top layer, she found it, an imperfect gap, a shallow hollow where two heavy logs didn't quite meet, a pocket of space that wasn't supposed to be there. She leaned closer, studying the woodpile like it was a wall built to hide something. Her eyes tracked the way the snow drifted on one side and not the other, the way wind slid over it, the way the pile broke the storm into calmer air behind it. It wasn't shelter yet, but it could become one. The man finally moved. Slow steps. Crunch, crunch. He approached just close enough to be seen clearly, set a small pack down on the snow, and stepped back again, hands open, posture careful, leaving room. No words, only the wind and the dry crack of frozen branches. She didn't reach for him, she reached for the work. She pulled a compact shovel from her torn bag. The blade scraped the crust with a hard, gritty sound, the first real mark on the untouched snow. Behind her, the man turned away and quietly gathered spruce boughs, arranging them behind a trunk like a screen, a windbreak that didn't look like one, just another mess of forest debris. She cleared a rectangle beneath the woodpile edge, sweeping away packed snow until darker ice showed through. The outline was clean and deliberate, like she'd done this before, or like she'd rehearsed it in her head for days. The man dragged a thick fallen log closer with slow, heavy pulls, placing it between the worksite and the open slope like a natural barricade. It didn't block the storm entirely, nothing could, but it broke the line of sight from the trail. Then she dug. The shovel bit into crust. Snow chunks tumbled away in hard, bright blocks, piling beside her. She carved down in steady strokes until her breathing turned rough. Then she paused, one hand gripping the shovel, the other resting at her belly, her eyes shut tight for 2 long seconds. She steadied herself and dug again, slower, deliberate, refusing to waste energy. The man worked without stepping into her space. He used a flat board to sweep loose snow away from the pit edge, widening the work area quietly, clearing the mess so the rectangle stayed sharp. When the pit gained depth, she laid 2 long logs across the top, forming a temporary roof, Not a real roof, but enough to keep falling snow from collapsing the edges, enough to create a sheltered pocket beneath the woodpile's shadow. Under those logs, she dug downward again. This time, the snow ended. The shovel struck dirt. Dark, gritty soil appeared like a secret beneath the winter's skin. The man returned to the stump, placed a small handsaw on it, and stepped away, an offering, not an order. She switched tools. A smaller trowel carved the entrance slope carefully, smoothing angles so the tunnel could exist without crumbling. The man stacked cut branches into neat bundles near the woodpile, future insulation waiting in tidy piles, ready for the moment it mattered. She deepened the pit to knee level. Soil clumps thudded softly onto snow and tarp, each one heavier than the last. She laid a scrap tarp on the ground and used it like a sled, dragging dirt away in silence, sliding it into a scattered dump so no single mound screamed digging. The man returned with a coil of cord and dropped it within reach, then backed off into the trees like he didn't want his presence to leave a footprint in her choices. She tied the cord to a bucket and started hoisting soil out. The motion became rhythmic: dig, scoop, lift, swing, dump. The bucket rose and fell like a pulse. Now the shelter stopped being an idea. It became a plan. She marked a low tunnel line under the woodpile, future hidden entry. Then she tested it. Slow crawl test. She slid her arm into the tunnel path, feeling for weakness, checking if the roof would hold, if the sides would crumble. Her glove scraped soil, and she listened, not with ears, but with her whole body, sensing the ground's language.
The man began cutting wood. Quiet sawing of straight saplings, measured lengths for framing. Not too many, not too fast, just enough. She dug the tunnel forward, pushing soil back into the pit, then lifting it out with the bucket. The tunnel stayed low, hidden, secretive, like it didn't want to exist. When it stretched long enough, she smoothed the tunnel floor, packing it firm with the shovel flat. The confined space looked cleaner, safer, less like a desperate hole, more like a deliberate passage. The man split a small log with a hatchet, controlled, rhythmic, making rough planks. Each strike was careful, quiet, not wild. The sound was dull, respectful, like he knew the forest was listening. She widened the main chamber area, shoulder width, then wider, carving slowly so the ceiling didn't collapse. The earth resisted, then gave, then resisted again. The man laid split planks in a tidy stack, brushing snow off each piece, like preparing them for a home that didn't deserve to be rushed. She created a ventilation notch path angled upward toward the woodpile edge, because warmth without breath becomes a trap. The man collected stones from a creek bed, rinsed by snowmelt, stacking them neatly, future fire base. She lined the tunnel sides with small branches to prevent crumble, weaving stability into the dirt like stitching. Then the man returned with a short metal pipe section from his pack and set it down like a rare treasure, modern, small, priceless. Inside the chamber, she compacted the floor with a heavy log roll, pushing and pressing until the ground felt solid. It was slow, exhausting work, especially with the weight she carried, but the floor flattened into something reliable. The man built a simple frame, 2 uprights and a crosspiece, lashed with cord, a doorway skeleton. He didn't build it for show, he built it for survival. She rested against the woodpile again, eyes closed, then pushed off, determined. The storm hadn't stopped. The forest hadn't softened. She simply refused to lose. He carried the frame to the entrance and slid it into position. Suddenly, the hole looked less like a wound in the snow and more like a structure. Now came the walls. She started building them. Split planks placed along the chamber sides like ribbing, turning raw earth into clean lines. The man packed soil behind the planks, tamping it tight for stability. Plank, soil, tamp. Plank, soil, tamp. Like building a spine for the room. She added a second row of planks, higher, chamber taking shape. The man weaved spruce boughs behind wall ribs, a natural insulation layer that smelled like forest life trapped inside winter death. She cleared a corner for storage, smoothing it flat with the trowel. The man laid a tarp sheet against the wall ribs, moisture barrier pressed into place so the earth wouldn't breathe cold into her bones. She shaped a shallow sleeping platform base, raised slightly above the floor, because even hidden shelters flood with cold if you sleep on the ground. The man brought dry pine needles and kindling, protected under his coat like he'd been saving it for this exact moment. She dug a narrow trench for a small heat-safe fire spot, centered away from bedding. The man arranged stones into a low ring, stable and compact, turning that trench into a hearth. She tested the entrance tunnel, crawl in, crawl out, ensuring no snag points, no sudden collapses. The man climbed the woodpile and shifted logs on top, adjusting the camouflage roof so nothing looked disturbed. A shelter that was obvious was a shelter that wouldn't last. Then the roof inside began. She laid saplings across the chamber like beams. He handed in more saplings one by one, slow and quiet teamwork, without touching, without words. She tightened lashings, checked spacing, pressed down. No flex. He added a second layer of thinner sticks perpendicular, creating a lattice. She spread bark sheets over the lattice, soft crackle in the warm air that didn't exist yet. He packed snow on top of the woodpile exterior, sealing gaps, hiding the roofline. She placed tarp over the bark layer, roof moisture barrier. Then he shoveled soil back over the roof from inside edges, tamping it to lock structure. The shelter stopped being a hole. It became a room. She smoothed interior walls with gloved hands, quiet, satisfying finish. The man carved a small vent channel upward and placed the short pipe to guide airflow. She tested the vent with a thin grass strand near opening. Tiny movement confirmed pull. It breathed. He extended the vent exit beneath a loose log in the pile so smoke could slip out unseen. Now she laid a floor of split planks to keep feet off damp earth. He scattered dry pine needles under planks, extra insulation and softness. She placed a folded blanket on the platform, then added a second layer. He built a small shelf from offcuts, simple and sturdy, against the wall ribs. She created a tiny doorway flap, tarp hanging over the tunnel mouth. He anchored it with 2 sticks. Quiet latch system. A door that didn't look like a door. She set a small water container in the storage corner. He brought in a compact metal cup and a small tin of tea leaves. was next, the moment everything either warmed or failed.
She prepared the fire area. Bark curls, kindling teepee, slow, careful placement. He struck a ferro rod, sparks jumped, and an ember caught with a soft bloom. The first flame grew. She shielded it with her hands, calm and steady. He added 2 small sticks, and the flame deepened into a stable, low fire. She warmed her hands, then adjusted the vent pipe angle slightly. Smoke thinned. The shelter breathed cleanly. He melted snow in the metal cup near the stones, rotating it gently. She watched steam rise, the first true warmth, and her shoulders lowered with relief she didn't realize she was holding. He sprinkled tea leaves into the cup and let it steep. She sipped slowly, eyes closed, breathing easing. For a few seconds, the storm didn't matter. He placed extra wood inside, stacked neatly, dry and reachable. She organized supplies on the shelf, order replacing chaos. He reinforced the entrance tunnel roof with 2 more saplings wedged tight. She smoothed the platform edge, added a rolled cloth as a pillow. Outside, he built a second small windbreak, spruce boughs angled like a screen, shielding the woodpile from the worst gusts. She checked concealment from inside, peeking through the tunnel gap. Only darkness and logs, no obvious trail, no bright disturbance. He covered disturbed snow with scattered debris, natural mess, no straight lines. She expanded a tiny work nook for cooking, placing a flat stone as a countertop. He trimmed wood fire lengths, cutting wood again, quiet, consistent rhythm. She added a small hanging hook line near the roof beam for drying gloves. He adjusted the vent exit under a different log, improving draw, keeping it invisible. She placed a second cup near the fire to warm it. He brought in a simple LED lantern and hung it low, soft glow, modern touch in a primitive hole. She wiped condensation from the tarp roof with a cloth, preventing drips. He packed more soil along wall bases, sealing drafts, tamp, turning edges into airtight seams. She tested comfort, sat, shifted, lay back briefly. The platform held firm. It didn't sag, it didn't creak, it felt like safety. Outside, he constructed a subtle woodpile hatch, 2 logs that lifted slightly, then settled back, hiding the entry. She practiced the hidden entry, flap open, crawl, flap closed, disappears completely. He stepped back and scanned the area, only a normal woodpile under heavy snow. Inside, she stoked the fire low and steady, no flare, only warmth. He reheated water for a second tea. She folded spare cloth and placed it near her belly. He left a small bundle of kindling just inside the entrance for quick starts so she wouldn't struggle in panic later. She added 1 last roof beam wedge, tightening the structure with a gentle push. Outside, he set a subtle trail marker far away, a bent branch that guided him back without guiding anyone else toward the woodpile. Inside, she watched snow sift softly outside the tunnel. The sound was muted. The shelter felt like a secret heartbeat under the storm. The man sat outside briefly under a tree, distant, keeping watch, lonely silhouette in snowfall. Then he rose and drifted away into the forest. No tracks near the woodpile, no straight path, just vanishing into white. She prepared the interior for night, fire low, vent clear, bedding arranged. She locked the tarp flap and settled onto the platform, hands resting, breathing steady. Outside, wind whipped snow across the woodpile like it was trying to erase it from the world. Inside, lantern glow stayed calm and warm. Steam from tea curled upward, her face relaxed. Fear didn't disappear. Fear never truly does, but it softened into something quieter. Focus, steadiness, the stubborn belief that tomorrow could exist. The finished shelter held everything she needed:
walls, roof beams, vent, fire, organized supplies, complete. And from the outside, there was nothing. Just a snowy woodpile in the storm. Beneath it, a hidden modern refuge breathed softly. Warmth, silence, hope, waiting for the blizzard to pass. If this story hit you in the chest, don't just scroll away. Subscribe for more survival stories, resilience tales, and real lifestyle comebacks that prove you can rebuild from nothing.